Hello, hello. Just double checking I am live. There's the chat. All right. Welcome aboard the Galactic Pirate Ship, Midnight Diner, episode 2. It's pajama party day. I am, in fact, wearing something that I wear outside. They're my little overalls, but also they're so comfy. I sometimes fall asleep in them. So they count as pajamas. And also my t-shirt. I sleep in this. I kind of wear all my clothes in and out of, like, they're all comfy. So if I fall asleep in them, I don't care. I don't know if we can see. I'm just gonna... This is my supernatural shirt. Gank all demon itches. If you're a supernatural fan, you get it. If you're not, you're missing out. We love... Oh, Ellen's here. I'm trying to remember my password. Ellen, it has been... I feel that. Yeah. The tech crap that's been going on is pretty hilarious. I'm actually pretty pleasantly surprised that everything is going reasonably smoothly. Although I am in a different room today. It was too cold in the room that I was filming in the last time, or streaming in the last time, and I was like, you know what? This floor is also abandoned, obviously. And so there's some there's like windows that are actually here and stuff instead of that fluorescent lighting. So I'm just kind of playing around. We're just experimenting, seeing what actually happens. So got better light and a different room. It's a little warmer because otherwise I was gonna have to wear my jacket and like then you couldn't see my cute party pajamas. So you're welcome. Yeah, so this is like how the hell is everybody doing? Yesterday was the day of the full moon in Libra, as well as the day that Venus stationed direct. It's a feisty energy. It's a real feisty energy. And the Libra full moon closed out... How much astrology are we going to be doing here? Whatever I say, astrology, like, just let everything kind of wash over you. I'm going to say a lot of shit that just kind of... It's called holographic learning, and you can hear something one time and get one meaning out of it, or maybe no meaning out of it. You're just like, what? But as it sinks into your subconscious and like your soul and body, like you start to integrate everything, you can hear the same thing again later and get whole new meanings from it and like deeper connections and all that stuff. So I'm just gonna keep talking, and if you have questions, I'm absolutely happy to answer them. Just make sure you put them in the chat. Or, we'll figure out another way. If you know me, you can always text me or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of ramble around. This episode was more of a... I wasn't supposed to plan this episode. It was like no notes, just go in and you're going to tell some stories and see where the energy goes. So again, just to remind people who I am as far as like my own astrology and human design, and explain a little bit about how you're going to receive my transmissions. It's through the lens of my own perspective. And so knowing about me, and it's just helpful to sort of, we'll get down to it. So Aquarius, Sun, Pisces, Moon, and Rising. This is Hellenistic whole sign astrology. And I don't know. I feel like going into astrology more, but we're just going to just see where this goes. And then in human design, which is a system that's based on the I Ching, astrology, the Hindu Brahman chakra system, it's more of a recent channeling. It was channeled in 1987, so we don't have as many years of understandings and discussions and teachers and whatever. So it's a little bit, it's not harder necessarily to find information about human design, but it is a little bit because astrology has been studied for like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And there is still more to say about all the planets and transits and everything. So it's an incredibly rich field of study for somebody looking for pattern recognition and like knowing what the which position the planets are in and what corresponds to social movements or like, you know, things popping up in your life or whatever. It's really just a cheat code. Astrology and human design is just kind of like a cheat code to life that we're living and the deconditioning that is necessary in order to discover who you really are and what you really want and why you came here and what your purpose is. If you're feeling lost about stuff, all the answers are inside of you, but it does sometimes help to start with a little study of something that kind of gives you a permission slip to be your full self. So that's why I talk about astrology and human design so much, because they have proven themselves to me and I know they work and whatever. So there's that. But in human design, going back, my actual profile line in human design is a 5-1. And so the 5th line is the heretic and the universalizer. It's we can take a massive concept or whatever and just kind of distill it down to like a nugget of information or wisdom. And we've already understood that there's nuance to all of this, but the universalizations that we make are heretical in the fact that they trigger you sometimes. So sometimes you will think I'm amazing, and trust me, that is a reflection of you. The 5th line is a mirror for the other person. So I am constantly like, people only see what they want to see from me and not necessarily who I really am. Now, my friends and people who are close to me, they have a much better idea, but the 5th line is projected upon pretty much constantly and either pedestalized or villainized. So whatever you are seeing in me is just a reflection of you, which is both the good news and the bad news, depending on how you want to look at it. So anyway, these are just my little ramblings of my own understandings about how the world works, my own cosmology, my worldview, my mythology, my memories. We are all multi-dimensional eternal soul beings who are having a human experience. And this is Earth School. And we're just here to kind of fuck around and find out. This last chapter has felt a lot like, actually before that was a side quest I don't want to go down anyway, so I'm changing the topic. But either way, I also wanted to address the losing of the train of thought suddenly. I was talking to my friend Yang last night, and I was talking to her about this. I was like, I know I get distracted sometimes with ADHD, and like sometimes I really do lose my train of thought, but usually it's because I'm down a few side quest holes or whatever, and I can't remember what I was originally talking about, but I eventually get back there. But this is different. It's like, as I'm talking, the thought gets plucked out of my head, and I'm like, what is that? What the fuck is that? And so she is a little older than me, and she's like, welcome to perimenopause. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I know that word, but like, I don't really understand that word. Like, the stuff that we don't know about our bodies is hilarious. And I know people are talking about it more, but anyway, I've read that you can start perimenopause at 35 years old. Maybe it's 45 years old, which is happy birthday to me. But I've been in these energies for a while, and I think I've sort of, I don't know. So if I do get a thought plucked out of my head mid-sentence again, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm a little nervous about, not nervous, but like I don't like it when that happens. But if you are in the chat and you hear me lose my train of thought, just type in what I was saying. I will go right back to it. Otherwise, maybe we'll all take a deep om together and just figure it out. So yeah, human design, 5th line, heretic. You're going to hear a lot of stuff coming out. But also the 1 line is the investigator, the rabbit hole, looking for safety and security. There's a lot of paranoia with the 5th line, because we know, even if you don't know your profile lines, if you have a 5 in your profile line and you just don't know anything about human design, and you resonate with some of these feelings, you probably have high 5th line stuff in your human design. But there's a lot of paranoia about it because we're always projected upon, and so we're constantly, for me, I am constantly managing other people's experiences and expectations of me. So you'll hear a lot of fifth lines going like, okay, I'm not like an expert or anything, like just, and then they'll do a whole lot of caveats, and then they'll do their universalizations. So we're working on not doing the caveat stuff and just couching things in like, this may happen, even though I'm like, this is going to happen. It's just a universalization. Being a fifth line is like kind of looking out. My teacher calls it like looking out from a second story window, and you can kind of see everybody walking around, and you're just like, I know what's going on, but like everyone else is in it. So it's just a different perspective, and you can see a more zoomed out version of what's happening. And so when you universalize, not everyone is going to, on the ground below or whatever, is going to be experiencing all that the same way, but they will recognize themselves in that somewhere and understand kind of what you're talking about. So we know the universalizations we make are not one size fits all, but it is a universalization because we can all identify with it at some level in some way. Okay, then the one line is the rabbit hole investigator will go diving down into subjects and anyway, so it's also very concerned with safety and security. It's very base human instinct, like fear, a lot of fear. And it's, even though it's the investigator and the rabbit hole thing, it's like, it still never thinks it knows enough. There's like that fear of being, rejected or abandoned or whatever it is if you don't become this expert or portray yourself, know everything so you can say everything, or otherwise you'll be villainized or, whatever. So recap on that guy. So back to kind of astrology and what this general episode is going to maybe cover a little bit is kind of what the fuck is going on right now. And it all kind of ties together because we can all see we're in the apocalypse, and the apocalypse is just a Greek word that means unveiling. It's been weaponized to mean, the end of the world and that kind of stuff. And it's the end of the world as we knew it. But really, the apocalypse unveiling energy is like, what is not working about the old world, and what do we need to build to make a new world? So there's a lot of different narratives going on here, and I want to remind us we're also in the year of the snake this year, and also it's a Mars-ruled year. So the snake, obviously, we've got wisdom, ancient knowledge, you're shedding skins, starting new things, it's also in our mythology as we currently have it in, Western Christianity, whatever, it's also deception. So we're going to have a lot of trickster energy this year, and a lot of stuff that looks really bad right now might not actually be bad. And I know that's like, so many thoughts want to come out right now. I'm trying to pick which one will actually... We're witnessing a lot of chaos because the people causing the chaos, it's what they want to do. They're agents of chaos. They want to do this to tear down what is old, but build something that they want that works for them, that is going to kind of mirror, when that side sort of talks about the New World Order, they're talking about like the Terminator type, like, cyberpunk kind of machines taking over kind of bullshits. And that was the path of Atlantis, but we're going to not go into that just yet. But it's all kind of connected here, so it's kind of hard not to talk about this stuff. But the New World Order, as those of us who are more on a light-filled path and who are here to sort of, I don't know, fix the timeline shit that's been going on. Earth was always... Okay, so many thoughts going out, but we're talking about the ascension, and I think I might be going into too many different things, but this path for Earth was already predetermined. She's learned all she can learn as a consciousness in this dimension, whatever, and she's moving up. And so the golden timeline is guaranteed because our ego minds don't have anything to do with this. It's like kind of, if you want to think about it being God's plan or whatever, it's universal consciousness. And so I like to say that I don't have hope for the future because being good, because I don't need it. I already know it's going to be good. And sometimes that's because I will just admit now that there are some of us who are time travelers who came back to fix the artificial timelines that kept getting put into this golden lots of hijacking and whatever the fuck of this natural ascension plan. So what you're seeing right now is a lot of confusion because the beings and entities that were in full power in this last chapter of humanity's evolution are no longer welcome here. And they are fighting tooth and nail to keep hold of their power because this is how they eat. They eat our energy, fear, war, all of those major events like that keep our consciousness low because we stay in survival mode. We stay feeling afraid of feeling joy, and the suffering is where it's at. And there are beings who are feeding on those energies and would love nothing more than to continue for you to feed them your fear, despair, and all that stuff. So, that being said, they're also just getting removed at an energetic level. They are no longer welcome here. And so they're getting removed, but they are smearing shit on the walls as they leave. So that's what's happening right now. They've already lost, and they know they've lost. So anyway, that does not mean that we are not going to have a pretty bumpy bus ride moving through this stuff. But we're going to be okay. We are on our golden timeline. Everything's going to be fine. So one of the reasons I wanted to say that up front is because the energy right now, especially after what happened in March and this full moon that we just had, it feels like stuff is moving. Like it can finally start to really, whatever it is, like things in your life, because maybe you've been trying to push something forward or like start a project or do any of this stuff and you've been coming into roadblocks or no energy or whatever. That's about to pick up speed right now, because what happened with this full moon and eclipse cycle is it closed out a cycle that started in March of 2023. And there's cycles upon cycles upon cycles. So there's another cycle that we're working with. We started in 2018, but we're going to get to that in a second, because what I want to talk about is the last 2 years and how that chapter is just, we're done with whatever you've been working through. There's no more running from that these past few years. And for me, so I will just talk about some of the themes that me and, just astrology in general, but for personal examples, a lot of it was relationships. A lot of it was self-worth. A lot of it was gaining mastery over your greatest fears. And so the period of time I'm talking about that has kind of punched me into, or all of us into, just like a puddle of just, we can't take it anymore. This has all been ramping up since about November, October-ish, which was Mars's pre-shadow, but November through now has been a slow rollout of, you are no longer allowed to run from childhood wounding. And so to kind of address that, oh man, I don't know how much to say about this, like astrology stuff, but there's an asteroid called Chiron, and he's known as the wounded healer. And whatever sign he's in for you is where you have experienced the most wounding in childhood, and where you have the greatest opportunity to heal other people, because you have healed yourself first from all of that. So he's known as the wounded healer because he was half centaur, half human, and neither group wanted him. And so he was very alone and outcast or whatever. But he was immortal. Anyway, he was in a battle with something, I can't remember what exactly happened, but he got wounded. But because he's immortal, he can't die, he's just like constantly in pain. But he learned how to heal himself, and he's known as the first, medical whatever. This might be kind of, I hear so many different myths about like, that's not the first medical being, whatever. for the purposes of the story, he has a very important role to play in the medicine of healing and healing oneself, and then taking that knowledge and healing other people. So Chiron, all that to this, Chiron in Aries, Chiron has been in Aries since 2018. And the basic principle of this transit, because we're still in it, and we will be for another few years, couple years, I don't know, 2027 I think is when it moves out, but it's where have you abandoned yourself for fear of being abandoned by the other? And so we've had a long time to look at that, and then these past 2 years in particular, there was eclipses in the nodal axis and all other kinds of astrology in the Aries and Libra axis. And so that meant we were really, really getting a lot of opportunities to look at where we still had wounds that we were holding on to that needed healing, or where we needed to own our own self-worth and like be more selfish, because being selfish is not necessarily being selfish. Like, that word has been weaponized against us, just like karma has been. So anyway, lots of relationship reevaluation, lots of evaluation of how you want to show up in relationships to other people, and including yourself. So when I go back to the November, like October, November to now time frame, that's when some of this retrograde season stuff started happening. So Mars went retrograde last year in December, but we were feeling it starting in November. And Mars is the mastery over your deepest fears. And it could also be hidden under things that you're very angry about. So Mars is it's our aggression, it's our drive, it's our like passion, like what we want to go after. It's also what we want to cut away that no longer serves us. It's very knife-like. I've seen a lot of swords and knives and all kinds of, like in my visions for some of these times, where they're getting removed from my energy field so that I can call all the parts of myself back to myself. So anyway, but it's been like when Mars goes retrograde, it's exhausting because he's our energy. He's he's how we do things. And so we've all been so fucking tired, but he went direct at the end of February. So at least his motion is forward, but he's still in that post shadow, which means he's just still in the degrees that he retrograded over, even though he's going direct. So we're still kind of feeling those themes of the retrograde, even though his motion is forward moving. So things are starting to move forward for us, and like projects are starting to get off the ground, but and we are starting to get our energy back, but we're not quite out of the woods, so to speak. And then on top of that, as Mars was going direct, or doing this retrograde thing. Oh, actually, I finished that thought. So Mars was retrograde in Cancer, and Mars is still retrograde in Cancer. I'm sorry, he's direct, but still in Cancer. And so that time period was basically us learning how to be the parent we wish we'd had for our own inner child. And so there was a lot of, for me, the lessons have been around saying no and not needing a good excuse, whatever that means. You're allowed to say no because you don't want to do something. And we have such trouble with that because we've been trained to people please. And part of what I was talking about with the 2-year cycle, the 2023 that started in March there, that had to do with the Aries and Libra eclipses that we were experiencing. Aries is the self, Libra is the other, relationships, harmony, balance. And we were looking at all the ways where our relationships were out of balance and being pushed very hard to get them back into balance. So it's been a lot, but it's been very good. And the other astrology in the sky happening is just, there's just a lot going on. But going back to March, Venus had already gone retrograde by then. And so Venus is another personal planet for us. And it's like, oh, Zaddy Cat! I had to interrupt myself. Okay, wow. Also, Zaddy Cat, I have been forgetting my train of thought sometimes, which I just learned is a thing of perimenopause, where I'm talking and the fucking thought gets popped out of my head like magic, and it's so frustrating. So if anyone's in the chat who hears me lose my train of thought, just tell me what I was talking about. I just need a quick reminder. Not only ADHD, but anyway. Okay. So yeah, the 2 years of the Aries Libra. Oh yeah, Venus was in retrograde. So Venus is, she's how we express ourselves, like artistically, like what we love, like aesthetically, what do we like, what are we attracted to? What do we attract? What brings us pleasure, like true Venusian, like you think of the, just luxurious Venusian things. It's whatever, but she also rules relationships, which is why the Libra eclipse series that we've been having since 2023 and into now, because we just had this Libra full moon yesterday, she's been triggering Venusian things. And Venus also is like that self-worth and how you love yourself and the different kinds of love that there are. And so this was a real exclamation point yesterday. This everything that was happening is just like we were doing Mars retrograde, sitting in your deepest fear stuff, Venus stuff, looking about where we need to learn how to love ourselves more and admit that you can like someone and not, or you can love someone and not like them. So if you need to cut someone out of your life, for example, it's not, you don't have to think that they're bad or what. It's just like, I love you as a human soul, whatever, but not in my field. And I don't like, and you can not like someone. There are plenty of people I don't fucking like, and I don't feel bad about that. But I do love them at a soul level, and that's just going to have to be enough. But so then the Venus retrograde having us reevaluate all this kind of stuff and how we want to spend our time. And then Mercury went retrograde and that was our communication and how we process information and, daily thought habits, all kinds of stuff. And so all three personal planets, because those are very much related to our personal self, we were reevaluating the fuck out of everything, basically. And it was a lot. And then we also had eclipses. And so the current nodal axis that we are in now is the Pisces and Virgo nodal axis. And again, just let this wash over you if you don't quite know. We'll come back to it and whatever. But what we're kind of getting dosed with now is where we're still deluding ourselves, what are our unhealthy coping mechanisms, and also like where we could dream bigger and where we can go with the flow of the universe and trust that we're going to be taken care of. And Pisces is your dreams are going to become reality, but you got to dream them first. So go crazy, have a lot of fun. But the shadow side of that has been highlighted with self-delusion stuff. Where are you still in victim mentality, that kind of stuff. And then also the Virgo side of things, which is where are you being too critical? Where are you expecting perfection when it could just be, it's already perfect, where are you trying to control the outcome of stuff, etc. So these have all been majorly, I have felt this, for me, this period of time, March, felt like when you break a bone and it doesn't set properly and it heals crooked and you have to re-break it to, that is what it has felt like, but in my whole body. Just oh shit, there's a toxic pattern. Oh shit, there's a toxic pattern. Oh, so for me, I was shown very clearly what my original toxic pattern bullshits were happening. And this comes into the story that I'm going to be telling about. This all ties into the housemate story that I'm going to be updating everybody on, because so anyway, oh, Lord have mercy. So much has been happening. Okay, broken bones, reset bones, because I lost my train of thought, of course. Okay. Oh, toxic patterns. Okay, so for me, I was finally, okay, I have lived alone forever. I don't want anyone in my space. I like my whatever. So I tend to not have roommates. So there's a friend of mine that I met in a class, an online class that we took together back in 2023. Speaking of cycles closing out. So we met in a class in 2023. There was a group of us that got along, whatever. We stayed in touch after the class ended, got along, all the things. We started really talking a lot in November because we both had traumatic moves and we were just connecting, and our energies felt really good together, like human design wise, and like I see energy in circuits and stuff. Human, like you can plug in, like your circuitry sort of overlaps, and you can have different definition with people and experience life a different way depending on who you're with, which is why you need to surround yourself with people who make you feel good. Because if you're like constantly rubbing up like opposing magnets, fuck that shit. So anyway, we were getting along really well and we were really safe and we had this great, and she needed a new place to live because she had a problem with the landlord that she had just moved in with, whatever. Very quick decision making, and I have documented all of this stuff in basically a 5-part series with my friend Shay in our Sultry Circus thing. So more details to be found there, because you can find that anywhere you find podcasts, but I'm giving like the overall highlights. So basically what happened is she was living in New York. She didn't have a car. I drove to get her and her 3 cats, and I got her here, and we were like, let's just see how the agreement, as far as I was aware, is that she was going to we fit really well together because she was going to do cooking. I don't like cooking, but I love, I'll do the dishes and whatever. And I was not expecting anyone to be a mom, okay? I was expecting a partner. That's all I was looking for. And that's what it felt like this was. And so I was not expecting like every night you must cook for me. Like, no, but in general, the sharing of the energy exchange there was a little bit more balanced because she wasn't going to be paying any rent, and she was going to be, putting up more of the structures for the garden we want to do and the greenhouse and like whatever. It was going to be more of like a sleeping phoenix type energy. I got into what that was in the last episode, but we'll talk more about it because this is the stuff that just keeps coming up, and we're moving into 2027. So if you don't know what sleeping phoenix is, I will go into it later. But we're doing this sleeping phoenix arrangement. But then when we got together, there were some we knew we were going to trigger each other, and we were okay because we're both upfront about this. We're like, we know you're not, it's kind of like when someone triggers you and you can feel yourself angry or whatever it is, and you want to lash out at that person or whatever, we would both stop and say, I know you're not doing this to me, but my experience of the situation is a trigger from childhood when blah, blah, blah. And as you talk it out, you kind of this is how we are going to be in relationships going forward. So the more vulnerable you get, the better. So we had done that a few times with each other and gotten through it, and it was great. And, it was hard, but it was still really good. But then I started to feel like a prisoner in my own home. And I was like, because whatever, I had to do another hard thing and say, this is triggering for me because I'm feeling like a prisoner in my own home, which is what my experience has been whenever I have lived with someone. And I recognize that it is because I overgive. It's like, again, my toxic pattern of like, I was not allowed to have boundaries as a child. Like, I would try to talk to my friends on the phone, but I would want to take the phone into my bedroom, and my mom would be like, if you can say it out there, you should be able to say anything in front of us, or whatever, like that kind of shit. Our door, it was just no privacy whatsoever. And I don't hate my mom. We're fine, but like, we got to be honest about what these things are. So I was recognizing my own toxic patterns that weren't my fault because I was trained in childhood before I even knew better. But now that I know better, it's like, guess what? We can make a different choice. And so I stood up for myself, even though it was very difficult. We did a whole different rearrangement. It felt great. I felt like I had won major points and earning my self-worth and like doing my thing. Then it became a little bit more like she was redrawing some of her own boundaries, which is always fine. You are always allowed to change your mind. You just are. Because again, we're being triggered. We're also in retrograde season. We're, of course, going to reevaluate literally everything that we've been doing for the past little while. So she had basically she was like, I don't want to do communal meals. I don't want to do the garden. I don't want to do blah, 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 like all the things. And I was like, that is totally fine. I wasn't, like if you want to redraw boundaries, please do. And something, I can't remember, she demanded something else or whatever. I was like, okay, that's fine. But then when I went to redraw my boundaries about how the energy exchange was out of balance, it was not okay for me to redraw my boundaries. And I am so proud of myself. I sitting in the fear, and that's partly why I started this stream at 117, because 17 has been, for me, the number that represents my fear, scarcity-based, taking up as little emotional and physical space as possible. It represents my old avatar. So I'm busting through this fear portal, and I am now not taking shit from anyone. And I really, like, each step of this process, as it has gone along, has been me growing more and more comfortable. Like, okay, I know that conflict wasn't the best, but it was still safe to have it. Like, the reason I don't take up space is because it's never felt safe to have conflict, because as soon as I do, I get bombarded with lectures or fights, or, it's never okay to stand up for myself or my boundaries or speak a different, like that kind of stuff. And I did not grow up in a military type. I just mean, like, this was my experience when I had a very loving childhood. There was a lot of awesome stuff there, but I'm just talking about the wounds. And so, yeah, just fifth line caveats here. Okay. So I was like, because we both are so awake, we understand that, like, Sleeping Phoenix and cross-up planning or whatever. And I was like, so since our Sleeping Phoenix arrangement wasn't really working out, because obviously you want to redraw your stuff, and I feel like it's already out of balance anyway, and whatever, I was giving everything. Like, she wasn't paying rent, she was just paying half of the utilities. And again, because I thought there would be more contributions to, like, she would pick up some of the other stuff. It would work out. So anyway, when I said that if the Sleeping Phoenix arrangement didn't work out with an exchange of services, care, whatever, then it was better to go back to a cross-up planning thing and do a rent agreement. She didn't like that very much, but she was like, okay, whatever, I understand. And then we kind of figured out that, like, she wasn't actually supposed to be here with me. She was just, this move was to get her to Ohio so that she could live in Cincinnati or something like that. So we just kind of were like, oh yeah, no harm, no foul. We're getting clarity as we go. Like, you'll move out, and and we both were like, no offense to you as a roommate, but, like, I don't want anyone in my house. And I was like, I get that. Like, and I felt the same way. So still all gentle, very good. Like, it's going to be fine. The rent thing wasn't a happy discussion, but I did stay strong with it. And I had a feeling a few days later, again, right before the Aries eclipse, I had a few days later, I had a feeling she didn't know, or it wasn't clear or something, that I expected this rent payment in April. So when I brought it back up again a few days later, again, scared out of my mind, because, like, I get conflict, like, my people pleasing tendencies on full display, just like I am freezed and fawned all over the place. And but that was all inside. Okay, the stress levels internally of someone being hunted for sport while my face is doing its best to just be RBF, like, I'm fine. And then inside it's like, so I flailed my way through this, but I made it through. And so the way I talk about how this came out is going to be, it was not this eloquent, but I am proud of myself for doing it. So I brought it up again after we were talking a little bit about, like, the Cincinnati thing, and, like, how you can find your apartments. We'll go next week. I'll drive you down, whatever. So we had a great discussion. And then I brought up, so I'm just making sure that it was clear that I was expecting this new arrangement to start in April. And here's the number that I want for my rent. And when I say that was the biggest shock, she was in shock. Like, it had not. Did she expect to just, like, live in my? Meanwhile, I'm sitting there just like, everything's on fire. Like in the movies when things go quiet and all you can hear is like a, or that's how it's like a roaring in my ears as I'm like, and luckily I had my computer because I was editing my podcast. And so I just started typing in an empty email. I was like, oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable. So I want to make my face just like normal. And I was like, I'm going to sit in this discomfort. She's not, I'm not asking for too much. I am asking for my worth, and I don't even care. And so she was shocked and whatever. But eventually she was like, okay, the only reason I was staying here is because I thought I could live here for free, which should have, it didn't, but it should have. And so I'm going to try to move out as soon as possible, whatever. And can I pay you after whatever, after we get back from Cincinnati? I don't know. And that's what I said. I was like, listen, I am not trying to be an asshole. If you have a different idea, I am happy to, listen to it, but we don't have any other exchange options than money right now. And so that's what I'm asking for. And I don't even need it all at once. I know you want to move. And if you need to save up for the move, you can just pay an installment. It's like, again, just not trying to be an asshole. So we go to Cincinnati. We don't talk this is her, like, one of the reasons I like living with her is because she's also a hermit, and we both take a lot of time alone. And so it was working out very well. So she clearly just was not wanting to talk to me, but calling it hermit mode, and which is fine. I don't want to fucking deal with that shit either. So we go to Cincinnati, we come back, blah, blah, blah. I send her the receipt the next day. I sent her the receipt for gas and my oil change, which I had already told her, because the agreement was, again, that she was going to pay half of car stuff and all the things. This is just, and I even, again, with this, like I told her, I was like, this would be different if we were friends already. Like if we had a history of energy exchanges. I was like, if this is Yang, my friend Yang, I was like, we know how we care for each other. And I was like, we'll get there, talking to my housemate. I was like, we'll get there. But like right now, it just doesn't make any sense. And again, I'm thinking I'm not this eloquent necessarily, but like my points are coming across. And so whatever. But, so when I sent her the receipt for the oil change and the gas, oh boy, did she scorch earth reply in the text. Any shred of a bridge we had, because I was still trying to be nice, and like, I was like, oh, the true colors have come out. And I don't think she's going to pay me rent for April. She's trying to move out by April 22nd, which she won't talk to me, so I don't know, like, any of these things. Like, oh, April 20th, okay, first time hearing of it, which is fine. Get the fuck out of my house. I don't care. Yeah. So I kind of went into, like, that was a crash. It was like a internal tower moment where, like, everything fell, because that is a response that for me, I have completely disconnected that energy cord. Then your access to me has been revoked. I'm no longer even angry at you. I just want nothing more to do with you. And if we are to continue this, which I'm going to finish this story with like the zoomed out stuff. So this is not, my human parts are angry, obviously, but I can see at a soul level that we are soulmates in the way that, like, soul family, like we're friends, we're connected at a soul level, and we love each other enough to have these soul contracts where we come together on the earth and work out different lessons that we need to, that we want to learn as a soul. And so for her, we both needed to trigger each other to see the wounds that we still need to heal. And as I got to know her before this fight, burning of the bridge, whatever, I had this feeling, this thought. I was like, she talks about her father in a way. You can tell when someone talks about their trauma in a way where they still feel victimized by it, which is a valid place to be. But you can also hear when someone's talking about their trauma in an empowered way, in like a, and so she would talk about her narcissistic, abusive father in a way that was very clear that it was not healed yet or started, like it's very, very deep in that. And so I finally saw last night, I was like, oh my God, she has this, because I could see it sometimes looking out of her eyes. I know that sounds weird, but there was a different eye color sometimes when she would look at me. That's the only way I know how to describe it. And I could see it, and I finally saw it was her. When I say attachment, I don't mean like external. It's like your own demons, and they have kind of attached to your subconscious. They're kind of steering the ship, and so they direct your actions, and but it's still you. You're doing it. You're just not noticing that it's your own monster, and you need to to tame the monster is really just to give it love, like recognize that it exists and needs attention, and kind of pull it back in. That's like parts work. So clear. And I had this thought. I was like, is she a fucking narcissist? But because I'm still so deep in my people pleasing stuff that I can't even see about myself, I just would second guess everything I was saying. And until last night, when I was talking to Yang, she was like, oh my gosh, yeah, the narcissist thing, playbook, classic. And I was like, what? So I got I got scammed, and it is fascinating because I had this feeling when I was filming a few TikToks early before I started this Twitch channel, and I was talking about the trickster energy, and I said a thing, one of the things I was saying, like a channel, whatever, was like, maybe you're called, maybe you make a mistake or got tricked or whatever, or wrong about something in public, and you have to, maybe it's humiliating or what, but you want this lesson in like publicly saying, oh, my mind has changed. Maybe you're known as a person who like never changes their mind because they're always right. Or like, I'm so ethical because I only have these, whatever. It's like, if you can't admit when you're wrong or that you've been tricked, you just stall your own evolution. And so April has been March and April, but April in particular, I finally saw the jagged truth that I needed to see, which is that, yes, I got scammed by this person, and I'm having an opportunity to publicly talk about it. And the thing about scams is, and I think there are more and more people talking about this in a compassionate way, because we all are finally recognizing that there is a scam for literally everyone. If you think you are above being scammed, you got some shadow work to do. And so what happened with this soul contract that we had together that is now over, thank God, although if it's not over and we are supposed to work together, she's gonna have to come back. I was gonna say on her knees. But I mean, I easily forgive once someone actually has shown me, when I can feel whether your genuineness. Trust me. And if you don't feel genuine, I don't have time for your shit. But if you are genuinely growing and the apology is real, or and you can tell when someone's apology is real, then I am happy to continue this, because like that's all I want for everybody, is to be in their highest alignment and their highest joy. And living with your demons, running your subconscious, doesn't always equal your highest. I mean, it can if you really like that kind of thing, which is, a whole other discussion. But so yeah, there's a scam for everybody, and I was really grateful for it, because what it did was showed me where there was holes in my own energy field where I was still giving power away to something else, like a manipulative energy. And so the attachments that we feel and the psychic attacks and the whatever you're talking, it's like you are energetically aligned for that. And so it really is just you, but it's easy to, again, victim consciousness blame, like, I'm being psychically attacked. And that's not to say people or beings don't try to interfere with that. Like, well, that's a whole other discussion. But like, your soul you are aligned with the things that are appropriate for you to get to your highest spiritual alignment kind of thing. So this was amazing, because I got to close that energy. I fucking patched that shit up. And manipulation has been a core wound of mine, like core. And so I have a pretty fucking good nose for it, because I grew up with it. in a lot of different ways, and so I'm very familiar. And this was so good. It was so subtle, so good, because you mix it with enough truth, and the gaslighting becomes easier to write off. And I could feel my body being like, there's something wrong here. And I also want to address that, because as I talk about in the Sultry Circus episodes, I was trusting my body that this was the right decision, which is still the right decision because I knew I needed to plug my energy field. So that was not incorrect information, but my body was also feeling an extreme amount of dread and like horror and like it was just like unease, I guess. And I would kind of, I don't know. My body knew what we were going to go through for this, like the dysregulated nervous system, you know, all that stuff. But it was still the right thing because we had to do it. And so now I'm going to breathe, although April 22nd is supposedly the day if she gets approved for this. I'm not taking any of her, I mean, she can message me if she wants to, but I'm not reading them. I don't even bother blocking people because I think that that's a reaction that can, well, I think you should, sorry. Fifth line shit, I'm going to just say for myself. I can universalize if I want. I don't bother blocking people because I think it's hilarious that I think it's like it's another response that they can fight against and like continue to try to get my energy back by like being mad at me or whatever. But if it's just, it's like the indifference, that's like the killer of all energy. She's just like, I really don't care. So they're not, so anyway. What a ride that has been. And it's very interesting to me, the date that she's trying to move out, the April 22nd date, because that is the same day that I go for an all-day mediation for yet another lawsuit I'm involved in. Not yet another. I've only been involved in 2, but like, the fact that I have been involved in any in my life is, this is a joke. Just so stupid. This one, the one I'm talking about now, is where my, it's a family thing. And I don't know what I'm actually allowed to talk about. So I'm not like embarrassed to talk about it. I just am like, maybe I should. So I'll tell the stories as best I can. And once it's over, which, whatever. But, it's a family thing, and there's a mediation for it, and it just, I don't know what's going to happen that day because, you know, we don't know the future till we get there, but it's an interesting, it's like the narcissist will be removed from my home, literal home, and then I don't know what's with the whatever development that is. I already know that as long as this fucking lawsuit has dragged out, I have gotten so many signs, like my grandmother, she comes in the form of a cardinal. She pops in all the time and she's like, it's going to be okay. You don't need to worry about it. It's going to be okay. And it's the same kind of thing. And I don't get mad at her, but like, I still throw tantrums because I'm like, but it doesn't feel okay. So I know it will be okay, but right now I'm like, don't tell me that. I want it to be okay now. And I feel like that's how people feel when I tell them it's going to be okay. We're on the golden timeline. Like everything is good. It's just really hard to live through because we got to throw our tantrums and stuff, but we also need to like maintain self-care and like know that we're not supposed to fix everything. We are a collective so that we can each pick up different parts of the thing that we need to fix. And so one of the things that I have been thinking about with the scam that I just went through is the quickness of it all. And I know everybody always says like that's how they get you with the scams is they try to make you move faster than you're comfortable with, you know, whatever. And to be clear, I don't think she is a bad, she's not like a demon. She's not some dark, whatever. She, I think, is genuinely here to transmute those, like break those ancestral curses. Like everything, we come here to like pick up all kinds of family patterns and ancestral patterns and learn how to hack them and break them and make different choices. And like, that's kind of what we're doing right now. So I firmly believe that she is a person who is doing that for that particular narcissist, whatever the fuck is going on for her. Cause she's very, Oh my gosh, more spam. I do not know how to get the spam off of here. Sorry, guys. If anybody knows how to work Twitch, just let me know. But anyway, so I genuinely, like, she genuinely did quickly need to move. Like, that's what I mean by it was just enough truth that when I was ignoring the red flags that were more obvious. Because by the time I'm like telling all this in hindsight, I'm like, oh wow, how did I not see that? And it was because I had such a low self-worth. I was like, surely the person outside of me is correct about this. Like, I'm always wrong. I don't want to piss anyone off. It's not safe to make someone mad because I will die, so I was ignoring a lot of my own things because I was still taking up so little space and trusting myself so little and valuing myself so little. So when I asked for rent money as an agreement to live on the land and it was my worth. I was like, I come with this, you are at my table kind of thing. And that's when the monster came out. And that means that I stepped into my full power and am owning that I am worth something. And I didn't even realize I still didn't think I was worth something because I've done all this work on myself. I know I'm amazing. I know I have great things to say. I know I'm charismatic and people like me and it's okay to be seen. And I even want to be seen because I'm excited about all the shit that I get to talk about. But I still had that part that was so isolated. I just couldn't see her. I had a blind spot. So, and now I don't. And yes, the journey is still kind of like going, but the progress that I have about this Venus return for me. So, while Venus was in retrograde and I have Venus in my second house, which is self-worth, net worth, and I didn't realize until now that how those are tied together. Because if you don't think that you're worth anything or you're feeling smaller, you feel like, oh, if somebody's going to see me, like if they see my real art or they see my real self, they're going to think I'm bad or worthless or whatever. If you still have those parts, it's going to be really hard for you to do your life purpose work because you're going to be continuously just not creating from a full place of like, wow, I am so excited to get all of these ideas out and I am worth so much. So it's just a really interesting journey for me over these past few months. Okay, yay! Bye, Zaddy Cat. I'm so glad you were here for a while. Big hugs to you. Yeah, thank you to everybody who's here. I have my little counter turned off. I don't know who's here or whatever, but anyone who is, thank you for coming and listening to my little ramblings. But yeah, so your self-worth is tied to your net worth. Who fucking knew? Probably everybody but me, but that's all right. That's how it feels sometimes. When you finally have these realizations, you're like, how did I not see that? That was a no shit Sherlock. But that's the purpose of these experiences. We come in with a lot of blocks because we need to develop those muscles. And so under severe limitation, we're learning new ways of like creating and becoming our full selves. And so that's part of the draw to this earth experience is it is severely limited, or it has been. We're moving into a more supported, like things are going to be easier to do what you want, but we're just coming out of that pretty slowly, pretty fast, but like it feels slow sometimes. But yeah, one of the reasons souls like to incarnate on earth is because it's so hard, like in the higher dimensions, you think a thing and you have it kind of stuff. And so when you want to really have a juicy experience, like this is where you can touch things and taste things and smell and like, it's an incredible place to be. And also it's very limited. So the muscles that we're building out, basically based on, responsible creation and, power dynamics, like all the things that we're learning right now under this severe limitation are incredible because what's coming now that Pluto has moved into Aquarius, the next 20 years, and it's going to start pretty soon. Like there's already inventions out there that can solve a lot of the problems that we have in this world. And if you kind of curate your algorithm to like I follow a lot of channels that are accounts that post solutions that are coming out and like good news, and this is the rainforest has been replanted here, and like somebody else just came up with a whole new way to recycle whatever the fuck, and then this type of mushroom eats petroleum and radiation, and literally Earth will give us all the things we need to clean all this stuff up and everything. But we are living through a collapse and a death, and so it's just it looks like there's not a whole lot of hope right now, but trust me, there is. I'm from the future. And it's great. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't know that I lost my train of thought, but I just kind of went on so many other things. So if anybody remembers what I was talking about, that'd be great. But self-worth, net worth, connected, no shit Sherlock, repeating things, hoping that I can get back on track. But yeah, that was what this full moon culminated, all of that stuff. And this was the time that it had to be done, because the energy of May feels like it really opens up. We're out of the shadow periods for all the retrogrades, both Mars, Venus, whatever, and then Saturn moves into Aries in May. I thought Uranus moved into Gemini. I think that also happens, but maybe towards the end. Anyway, big energy shifts in May, and these all feel very positive. So like the timeline that I felt anchor in on January 20th, the freedom timeline or whatever, it's just been getting stronger and stronger and stronger as we all move through these triggers to get to our own highest power. Because we are here to build out the things that will take the place of systems collapse once they really start happening in 2027. So there's a lot going on, and all of this is training for what we're doing next. And I am now finally able to talk publicly about being scammed and how it's not a reflection of your worth. Or it is, but in a way that wants to show you how there's a part of you that needs more love and attention. And the best person to do that is yourself. And it's, all the parts work. And so whatever scam you fall for, I don't know. I know it's embarrassing, but at the same time, the more people talk about it in a compassionate way, I think it's just the fact that I went through this makes me feel like this will be talked about more on a collective level pretty soon. I tend to go through things and like pregame it and then the collective sort of. So I don't know if that means individually, it probably does, but also I feel like in general, some big stuff is coming, action-packed stuff, and I don't know what it is, but it feels like the things we're going to be learning might be some jagged truths, depending on how willing you are to sort of go with the flow of being like, oh, this actually sucks, but what's for the best? Like, it's showing me this, or, whatever. And you don't have to be graceful about any of these things. Like, you can throw your tantrums and feel flaily and all that stuff. You just have to I have never felt like I'm doing something like, I'm always scared, but I just don't let it stop me, I guess. And so I am less scared of things. Obviously, once you go through all these fears, you experience fear in a different way. Instead of like flaming flames or like hot flames, it's like more burning coals. And that's kind of how my fear and anxiety feels. So they're still there, but like, I'm moving through it in ways, and I have proven to myself now that I will stand up for myself, and I keep my promises to myself, and I am my own best partner because I am able to do the things I need to do to create balanced energy exchanges. And so I'm not accepting scraps anymore. It was just amazing. I literally could not see that I was accepting scraps because I thought I had a high enough opinion of myself. Anyway, it was just really, really fascinating to see my own growth and to kind of navigate that trickster energy. Because honestly, I saw that being whatever Dorothy's, unhealed part was, I saw him and he didn't feel malevolent to me. What it felt like, it is for her because she's got her own, demons. But for me, it was not like he was gonna come attack me or some shit. It was kind of like what do they call it? Like a white hat hacker who will come in and just hack your systems, but like to show you where your security breaches are. That's what he was. So I called him in for that, and boy, oh boy, did he do a good job. And honestly, best of energies and support to my housemate going through that, because she will be going through her Saturn return, which is a return of a planet is basically just how long it takes to do an orbit around. So like when you look at your natal chart and you have a Saturn in a certain placement, it takes 30 years for Saturn that's transiting to get back to where it was when you were born, that took place in the sky. And so a Saturn return is very like, basically astrologers could probably, like, I feel astrologically that you become an adult after your Saturn return, because Saturn teaches you responsibility and limitation and patience and the need for a good foundation. And he excavates every sign he goes through the zodiac for you. And once he gets to the place where he was, where he returned, and you're through that, you have been given the responsibility lessons for every area of your life. And now once you're 30 or so, it like you kind of start another round, but this time kind of knowing shit. Like, so she's going through her Saturn return once Saturn moves into Aries, and it's also going to be her first house. So Saturn, I just had Saturn in my first house for 2.5 years. He spends about 2.5 years in the sign. And that's where I learned all these truths. It was some real rough shit to look at. I was like, but I looked at it and I did the things, and I'm much better on the other side. And I did not give up anything I miss. That's for sure. I don't miss accepting scraps. What the fuck? So it feels like a huge sacrifice as you're going through it. But once you're out of that, it's like, oh, why was I holding on to that anyway? And even through this stuff too, it's like, before I realized the narcissist is like the scam, like whatever the fuck, I could feel that once I realized that she wasn't the person that was supposed to be helping me, I was like, oh, then she needs to get the fuck out. Because I was like, oh, don't leave now, because like I was still expecting her to be able to pay rent money, because I was like, oh yay, I'm gonna get money, and like, but so don't hurry to move out. But also, it'd be great. Thank God she's hurrying to get out, because that means as soon as I get rid of the thing that is not for me, the something that is for me can come in. So I was just getting into this place where I was like, kind of thinking about, oh, what's gonna come up next time? Like, I'm glad I get my house back to myself. That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, finally get to live alone again, and I'm not going to do the roommate thing again. Like, I don't even know if I want a romantic partner to live with me. Whoopi Goldberg famously is like, I don't want someone in my house, when somebody asked her about marriage. And I was like, exactly. So, but maybe I do feel differently about a romantic partner, but like at this point, no, this is my table. Unless you bring like whatever you're bringing better be suitable for an empress, okay? Because I am not taking. So anyway, but because I know how the universe works, and my relief, I was like, oh yes, I get to go back to living alone, and the partnership will happen later, whatever. The way the universe works is there's probably going to be a roommate proposal coming in soon, but this time it will be an offer I cannot refuse. Like, and I can't imagine that, because honestly, my expectations are so high. I'm feeling a little bit like, but I don't feel bad about high expectations, but they're so high that like, I'm just, you're going to have to tell me, and I will take the time I need to take to decide. And I think that is what I meant to finish out that thought when I was talking about like the craziness of the world and like picking the parts that you need to work on, like you came here to work on, because we all are picking up different things. I'm not meant to burn things to the ground. I'm meant to come here and like build out this new school and like support the people who are doing the burning with help with like energy work and emotional support. And, you know, like I'm here. I'll finish the thought and then I'll talk about the roles in the revolution. So what I was going to say about the quickness of everything that is being thrown at us, the agents of chaos are like, here's the thing, let's crash the market. Let's do this executive, and it's not even just America, like everything that's fucking happening everywhere. They're trying to overwhelm so that we all think we have to run around like ants and we can't organize. It's like you pick what's calling to you, whatever that is, and do the thing, and then support as best you can. Once your cup is full, then you can support the other people that need it. So then going back to the revolution stuff, the roles in the revolution, there was a great TikTok. I reposted it on my feed, and because I don't remember her name, so I'm so sorry, but like I did post her. So if you go to my TikTok, it should be in my reposts and stuff, but I will do my best to summarize, because it's kind of what I was talking about. I was like, the arsenal energy that goes out and protests and like does the thing. She talked about roles in the revolution, and I don't remember what they all were, but they were like tenders. So like a pretender can be the one that like goes, someone who has, like for me, I can mask and go out into the world and like, you can't really tell that I'm weird necessarily, or like, I don't know, but I can do bridge work with like the people who just cannot be out in society. Like we're all feeling so overwhelmed, and like we don't want to go outside because every time you go outside there's people, you know, or whatever. So I can be the bridge person who can be in public, because I can take that, not all the time, but it is fun for me to move through the world and travel and be in community and like talk to people. I also have, most of me is very hermit-like, and I cannot be around people hardly at all. And I need isolation to just, like, isolation is not negotiable. And I'm talking like put me in a padded cell. Not, but I mean like total no, like nobody around. And it's not the same thing having like your own space in a house. It's like, I need the whole house. So, anyway. So the pretender, then the tender part was like caring for, you know, like doing childcare or gardening, or, you know, running people who don't have cars to do errands, or, you know, folks who can't leave their home, bring them groceries, like, you know, that kind of thing. And that, I do fall into that category a little bit, because it's emotional support. Like I can do those things. Then the defenders were something, I think they were the ones who were comfortable in like violent situations, which sounds like whatever. Not for me. But then there's the pretender, the upender, which is how I feel too. Like the people who can see the future that's coming, and it's like, we're gonna be okay. Like whatever, we need to make sure that people hear that and get the ideas that they need. Part of my human design is getting ideas, like just okay, the genius ideas. Honestly, I'm sorry. I'm just not. I'm pretty fucking amazing. And so genius level ideas, it's hard for me to be like, okay, that sounds so arrogant, but like also, self-worth here. Too many lessons in it. So part of my human design is to get these genius ideas that are not necessarily for me to carry out. It's for someone else. And so I'm just meant to talk about these really cool ideas. Like, what if we had this thing that could, like, you know, revolutionize the way we do farming practices or whatever. But it's not for me to do that, but it's someone else. So a part of me is to be the pretender and like going out into the world and being like, oh yeah, so there's the upender, the person who's like here to revolutionize with ideas, the things that we were meant to bring in for this new chapter. And then the other one, I can't remember what the other one was, damn it. But anyway, it was a really great, because I also identified with that one. So like tender, pretender, upender. Oh, maybe those were the three. Anyway, so there was a couple more. And so I reposted that on TikTok, and it was a really great, compassionate, like, you know, we all kind of throw around, make sure you do your self-care. And it's like, okay, well, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, how do you do self-care? And that's part of it. It is slowing down when the world is trying to make you feel like you have to look a million directions at once and regulate the nervous system and just be like, you know, pick the things you need to pick and feel sad when you need to feel sad. This is not to, you know, but also that's the part of the party, the midnight diner party. In our little party pajamas here, we're just, we're talking and about the things that are going on, but we're holding space for like all the grief that we need to process personally and as a collective, because there's a lot of it. But I am on team trash. I am energetic trash, real trash. Like I came here to clean up the mess that my fellow beings have helped create on this earth. And it was karmically aligned for me to incarnate here so that I can do the cleanup and help humanity actually like survive this transition with as little, because this is psychosis energy. All of us are just like, what the fuck is going on? It's worldview shattering. It's like, it's all kinds of shit is going on. And everything we thought was true is not, or, you know, so it's a lot of, it's just a lot of stuff going on. And so the more you can calm down. Also, I saw another video about regulating the nervous system, and I just kind of wanted to address it because it felt interesting to me. She was saying how she was sort of over how we talk about making sure our nervous systems are regulated. Like, we talk about regulation when it comes to money and nervous systems. Like, that felt weird to her. And I was like, ooh, that isn't interesting. I'm still chewing on this. But I'm like, okay. And so she was talking about how the way that like society in general talks about regulating the nervous system, she's like, it sounds like they want us to just always be compliant and pliable, like regulate your nervous system so that we can, you know, so acknowledging that there is genuine good work with regulating the nervous system, because that is the only thing that has helped me get through any of this. It's, if you need to be, I think throwing a tantrum is also having a regulated nervous system, is what I'm trying to say. Like, meeting yourself where you are and throwing a fit or being dramatic or like screaming or whatever, that is part of the process. If you go straight to just only regulating and not feeling, because you're like, oh, if I feel the anger, it's bad. No. Feel that anger. And that was another thing that came out of this March, whatever the fuck March was, and then the eclipses and all the things. The divine dark feminine, she might have a few things to say, and she has for a while. I felt her presence for a while, but now it feels like the time where she really starts to roar. And again, I'm not sure I'm looking forward to the forward momentum of the energy, so that, like, for those of us who are like, here, we're going to build out our projects in collaboration. Like, I'm really excited because it feels fresh, but I'm also a little nervous because that means a lot of stuff will be happening on the external stage too. And so maybe I'm filming this now to kind of talk about the scams and the regulation of the nervous systems. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I can just get a general sense of like, and I also have pattern recognition, which is all astrology is looking at the patterns and seeing what alignments bring this type of energy. But this type of energy we're coming up on is like very warlike energy. Like when Uranus was in Gemini, we had like, I think the Civil War and something, you know, all the things. And so they only have a few playbooks. They have the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. They have famine, plague, death, stock market crash. Like that's all they can do. So whenever they try to move us into war, it's just so obvious they're trying to distract us from not like, but enough, we're not going to have the war. They're doing their best to make sure that everyone lives in fear, that we're moving towards that direction. And they're doing their best to move towards that direction. But if you haven't seen Succession, that's basically a documentary, okay? What you hear on the media is not real. So what you need to, or not the whole story anyway. And so what we're doing in this age, the beginnings, we're not in the age of Aquarius yet. The energy is here that's like leading us into it. So it's very Aquarian energy, but we're not there yet. But this Aquarian age is, Aquarius rules networks, and Aquarius is humanity, like as a people. And so we're building our neural networks that are just amongst us without doing the middleman shit of propaganda and media and whatever else. So when you're learning to find the sources that you trust, and if you get tricked, you get tricked. Like, this is what happens. I used to follow someone, and she had the greatest fucking content, like news-wise and whatever. And I was like, wow, she's really independent. Like, I can trust her reporting. Whoa, she had a flame out. And I was like, what the fuck? So anyway, again, just expect a lot of this stuff. We're in the year of the snake. It's trickster energy, like whatever. But find your sources that you trust to actually, you know, and it's probably not going to be the sources you've relied on for the past however long. So, and also just to say for that, being open to hearing from people you might not have wanted to entertain because of whatever reasons, which are very, like, I live in cosmic neutrality a lot of times, and that means I can see that everyone's perspective is valid. I don't have to agree with it, but I live in that neutrality so much that most of my judgments have sort of gone away. Now, it's fun for me to have judgments. I still like it. I still like having strong opinions, and I like to be, you know, judgmental and whatever. And that's part of the human experience. So I'm not going to throw that away. I'm not going to be like, well, I need to stay neutral. Fuck that. Have some fun. Have a judgment opinion. So I'm working on getting back into that, because for a while I was just like, oh, judgments, I can't. It's too exhausting. So anyway, listening to people, and I guess I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. I'm just going to like say some of my examples, because if you told me that I would agree with things that, like, Andrew Tate says, or Alex Jones, or I never 100% agree with anyone, or all of the time, basically. So not 100% of everything. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't not be open to the things that other people can give you. And when it's how information has been controlled for so long, and only just like the revolution needs to be started with like parties and dance it, and like we're going to have a good time and live in our joy, and that's what brings in this new world. Part of that this new world stuff is just seeing that we have been told other people are bad. So for example, when I'm talking about the Andrew Tate thing, for years, I was like, I've been told this guy is a terrible person, a sex trafficker, like all this stuff. And so one person I really respect and follow him for a lot of news, and I've trusted everything. Like he comes with receipts, and I love this dude. I trust him. He retweeted Andrew Tate last year one time. And I was like, oh shit, do I need to unfollow this guy? Because Andrew Tate is just like, he's bad, right? And then I saw, I've been in the habit of this way too long. When I have a thought and it feels like a knee jerk, like I've been programmed to have this thought, I'm like, oh, no, wait a minute. What's the opposite of that thought? Even if I don't agree with the opposite of that thought, what is it, so that I can at least open my mind to being like, I don't have to stay in the same opinion. I need to be. So I was like, you know what? I have never actually watched for myself an Andrew Tate video. Maybe he is as bad as they say. I don't know. And hilariously, before this happened, I had done a card drawing for myself, like a tarot card drawing for myself. And it was like, basically help is coming from an unexpected source. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know, thinking it would be money or something. I'm in like some finance scarcity focus. My ass. Okay, anyway. And then like putting it together later, it was totally this Andrew Tate video, because it was hilarious. It was so funny. It was him and his brother, because I just clicked on whatever the first one, the latest one that he had posted or whatever, and it was him and his brother doing a skit, like a comedy skit, pretending to be BBC broadcasters or whatever, like the pedophile guys that are starting to become, and they did it was like perfect. It's like that jackass type of humor that I've never really liked, but for some reason when they were doing it, and it was like they were punching up at these people, it worked so well, and it was fucking hilarious. And then I watched one other video where he actually had a lot of good things to say, and helped about the confidence thing, and like moving through fear and something else, and the way, whatever, because again, it doesn't really even matter what these people say. The frequency is what matters. That's what you're picking up on. Like sometimes the words matter, but like it's a lot of the frequency. So whatever he was fucking saying, I was like, oh shit. I think that I'm being arrogant about this, but in reality, I actually just am gaining the confidence that I need to do the thing I need to do. Because for me, there's a card deck I have that's like, one of the cards is arrogance. And when I draw that card, they're trying to tell me it's not arrogance, it's just deserved self-confidence. And I think it's arrogance because I, again, take up so little space that like, I'm like, oh, but I can't give myself that much credit. So that's, again, help from a surprising source. Andrew fucking, and I don't follow him anymore necessarily because like he specializes in sparking outrage. So like, I only have so much patience for that. I also don't agree with like a lot of the shit he taught. Like, who knows if it's an act or if he really believes it? Like, I don't care, but the stuff that he does post about women, sometimes it's just, okay. But what I am saying is that there are nuggets out there that can help you. And if you don't explore them, you're just cutting off your own growth is what I'm trying to say. And and I was a little nervous to say that, but I kind of think that that's part of me taking up more space is because this is the reason I was nervous to say it is because I was like, oh my God, what are people going to think about me? What are my friends going to think about me if they know that I watch Andrew Tate videos sometimes? I don't know. I watch Joe Rogan too. Like, I mean, there are so many people and I don't know. I'm just saying that the more you learn about your fellow human, you can see that there's overlap and that we really all want the same thing. And we're all being directed to fight each other because the real people, I was going to say people, but the real beings that run this earth right now, we don't know who they, I mean, well, the people you would label conspiracy theorists know who they are, but like, we don't see them. They're the shadows. They're the ones that are running this stuff. And that's the kind of truth that is going to be coming out. But like, until we all see that that is a possibility, that shit that is labeled conspiracy theories can actually be true, it's pretty wild because you start to understand a lot of the stuff that couldn't possibly be true because no fucking way. Just there are people out there reporting on it with receipts. And so once you find those people and they're trustworthy news sources, keep on that. And that's why authenticity matters in this new age. It's like we can sniff out the lies at this point. Like we can sniff out when, and all these people I felt like the reporters I follow with millions of followers who can see that we're being led to war and and they're calling it out. They're like, this is not acceptable. This is not what we want. We want to fix our own fucking country, that kind of stuff. So millions of people, that's why I don't think I know the war is not going to happen because our consciousness level is too high. If they can get away with it when not enough people can see through the lies, but we're all just like, are you fucking serious with this shit? Like, and I know it's hard because like out there, it does look like a lot of people still don't know what the fuck is going on. And that is true. But also the background frequency is about to change pretty heavily. That's the background frequency of the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix, which is an era that, according to human design, is going to be starting in 2027. We're currently in the Cross of Planning, which is its own background frequency. And so it's kind of like it's like the code that runs the game, basically. And this code is based on transactions and planning and fear of failure and whatever. And then the Cross of Planning is going to be more like the fear there is like of the unknown. It's just going to be kind of what I was describing with my housemate situation. Like, what do I have that you need? What do you have that I need? And we kind of form partnerships that way. And we're really going to need to start building community. But the reason we need to start, building community because, or in order to start building community, we have to, one of the things that helps do that is to realize that because humanity is a collective soul and the people we're seeing are individuals, we think they're separate from us, but they are sparks of the same soul. And so the people you hate the most are also part of your tribe. And I'm not saying that you have to hang out with them in your community, but I am saying that community is going to include people that the propaganda would like to have you label as other or undesirable or crazy or whatever. And so that's why I have been doing the thing where I just listen to a lot of people who have a lot to say. And as a one line, my little rabbit hole, investigator person, because I have a fear of like never knowing enough. And so being afraid of like, I'm having throat chakra issues. I'm like, don't talk. It's not safe to say your true things or you'll be burned at the stake. But because I have that fear of never being prepared enough, it takes me a while to actually have a pretty solid opinion on something, because I know that I might not necessarily have the whole story. I'm like, wait, I need to know from here and here and here. And I take my time. And then once I feel reasonably good that I can at least chew on it and still be open to being wrong. So I recommend that, as for one line wisdom coming at you is just to recommend that like you don't take at face value the first thing. And that's the lesson of this trickster energy. You're not going to be able to trust what you see. You're going to have to trust your own body. And so again, with the whole crazy scam thing, like I knew I needed to go through it to see what I needed to see. My body led me through all of that. And so getting out of the mind space and having it be like we still need logic and reason, but the heart has to lead, and it's like the CEO and the assistant. So that was my story. That was my spiel. I don't think I had anything else. I mean, unless I've not finished a thought, I kind of feel like that is pretty complete. I did just post the last Sultry Circus episode that we recorded. And that kind of wraps up that 5-part series. Shay and I are probably going to record again at some point because, I can already tell she doesn't even have the update on some of the stuff that I was able to talk about here. So we're going to probably record again, and I can feel that she's maybe going through something. So yeah, we're going to have some fodder for the pod, and we don't really announce those. We just kind of go live because we go with the energy. So it's like, we feel like recording today or maybe tomorrow. Like that's when we do it. For me, so if you're following, you'll get the notice, and I try to change the title. It's like Sultry Circus, or if it's Midnight Diner, or, whatever. But you'll get a notification when we go live, whenever we do that. For me, I think I'm sticking with the Sundays. I was a little resistant to that at first, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I love being it's my Sagittarius 10th house. Sagittarius is kind of like, can be known as like the preacher or whatever. I'm like, I love that word, preacher. And I don't want to I'm not calling myself that. I love the energy of that. And like the Midnight Diner I'm like the heretic preacher at the Midnight Diner Mystery School. And we're definitely located at the crossroads, not just demons hang out at the crossroads. Bitches like us hang out at the crossroads. And I am part demon, so like maybe that's why I feel so comfortable there. But anyone is welcome at the crossroads. And the Midnight Diner is where you go in when you feel like listening to anything that I have to say. But yeah, I feel like Sundays, that Sagittarius 10th house of mine is like, why don't you do some religious programming, transformation, alchemy, and do your parties on Sundays? So that's what we're going to do. I have no idea if I'm going to do this next Sunday or not. Feels like probably yes. And I feel like it will also still be around 1 o'clock because that's 1300 in 24-hour clock. And I always use the 24-hour clock. So I'm used to that. And 13 is today is the 13th, which I knew I needed to record today because as soon as I saw that it was Sunday and it was the 13th, I was like, oh, well, that's not a sign. So 13 for me is the divine feminine number. I think I forgot that I was talking about the divine feminine earlier, but whatever, we'll get into that later. But basically feminine rage is coming online. Feminine rage, and I was feeling it, and it felt amazing because she got me through some second guessing, and she was very angry and wanted me to feel the anger, and it felt very nice. So yeah. Anyway, so sticking with Sundays, probably next week. I confirm on my Instagram, I guess I'll put up a story or something, but like, I don't know. I really just go with the energies, and because this is my higher self's plan, I do tend to have the energy to do these things, but man, during the week, or like half the time, I still feel like my energy gets just, I'll be fine during the day, and then all of a sudden it's like a plug got pulled and all the energy just goes, and I can't move. And I don't know when those are going to hit me. So I'm just like, I try not to, I don't leave the house a whole lot. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed today's heresy, and yeah, best of energies and support kind of stuff going through the next. I think we'll feel a lot better having moved through that fear portal, that retrograde stuff mid-May. I mean, it's already kind of clearing up. The end of April's a little crunchy because there's a Mars-Pluto opposition. So that'll feel kind of like what December felt, and maybe it was August of last year, something like that. It's similar things, but you'll move through it. It'll be fine. None of things are to scare. This is how you prepare. You're like, okay, something's coming. It might suck, but like, it's fine. Just to kind of move through it a little bit better. But yeah, mid-May, we'll start to kind of feel things. I'm already starting to feel the energy, but once it does start to get really, really insane, just kind of remember that you can party at the Midnight Diner. You don't have to move fast. You can take your time. You don't need to be embarrassed you've been scammed. I don't know what other closing wisdoms, whatever. But basically, I will just send you all off with a big hug and a lot of love, and I will see you next time.